take the next speaker. If you can please accept the invitation to join the panelists. We send the invitation. All right, perfect. So our next speaker is Mr. Emmanuel Onwi, business coach at Soilless Farm Lab. Emmanuel Onwi is a modern Nigerian farmer and agripreneur passionate about year-round food production through innovative methods. With a background in biology, chemistry, and a degree in agriculture, he specializes in hydroponics, growing crops without soil. Emmanuel has trained individuals and institutions, including FUNAB, SFL, and OGADEP in sustainable farming practices. Through his work, he promotes good agricultural practices, GAP, offering trainings, farm setup, and agricultural business consulting, dedicated to solving food scarcity and seasonal price fluctuation. Emmanuel is driven to grow safe, accessible food while empowering others through agricultural innovation. Mr. Emmanuel Onwi, welcome to the presentation. If you can please have your camera on, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Ms. Abinike, for the opportunity. Thank you, GHI, for the opportunity too. I'm deeply grateful. And also, much thanks to my boss. I don't know if you can hear me clearly, something Mabuli, for this opportunity.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So, a quick one. We're going to talk about two things here, which is on the World Food Day team, which is on global food security, and then pressing remote control. Okay, that's on food security, global security, and then sustainability. A few experience shaped my understanding of what food security is. The first time I was on an extension activity to a town here in Nigeria. And when I got there in the morning, because these are where the food is being made, rural farmers who grow these things. In the morning, these people ate cassava. Now they boiled the cassava like you are boiling yam. So they boiled the cassava and ate it with oil. Like, okay, no problem. I'm new to this. I had to enter bike to long distance to go get rice. In the afternoon, I saw these people roasting cassava and eating it with oil, like roasted yam and oil. I'm like, okay, no problem. Then in the night, they took the cassava, boiled it, and pounded it like yam to eat with efo. It's a kind of vegetable here. And I'm like, okay. The next morning, they made cassava into something else. So to me, it was like apparently they were just eating cassava for like they can go on and on and eat cassava for over a month. And I was like, this is really a concern. And I'm like, but these people, they have food. But I don't think this will really help proper development and what they need. So like, so that was one experience that started shaping my understanding around what food security really is. And what that meant to me is, for some persons, they may have food, like in this case, food was available. But the question for them is, does it really meet their dietary need? Because you see some of them around there, some of them look a bit pale, but if you ask, have you eaten? Yes, they have. So when we are saying, oh, food security, it's not all about, oh, is there food? Okay, if there is food, what kind of food is it? Does it meet their dietary need? Then the next experience that shaped my understanding was, I realized that at some point, I want to buy tomato, most vegetables. And then I go to the market and I'm like, you see, they keep a whole lot of these things and they're selling it, this is 50 naira, this is 100 naira, this is 50 naira, this is 100 naira. Okay. And then there's another time you want to go and buy the same thing that you bought for 50 naira, for 100 naira. You want to buy it again, and then they're telling you, it's for 500 naira now. And you're like, why? And then we begin to look at these things, and then we realize that it's because of the growing depends on season. The season in terms of when rain falls and when rain does not fall. And because of that, it affects the availability. And once it's not available, it becomes scarce. And once it is a little scarce, it affects the price. Now it's no more affordable. For me, food should not be a luxury. Food is a right. It shouldn't be a privilege. Like my boss will always say, that food production should not be seasonal because hunger does not know season. So food shouldn't be a luxury. And because of that, that's why I had to write out those 4 pillars to say, before we say we have found food security, the first thing is the food available? Is the food affordable? Is there a system where the food can be again and again? That is stability. Does the food meet the dietary needs of those who are eating it? So these were the experiences that defined my understanding, and I'm like, then there is a whole lot of work to do. And then next, you see, so in trying to achieve all of this, to make it available, accessible, meeting your dietary needs, and then affordable, that means that food should not be a luxury. For me, I think we should come to a point where we can define poverty not with the metrics of food. Can we come to a point where we can define poverty, where food is no longer a metric to defining poverty? I think that's the line for this part. Can we come to a point where food is no more a metrics, or hunger is no more a metrics for defining poverty? That's the line, yes. Can we come to a point where hunger is no more a metrics for defining poverty? That means not just a thing of the rich. Can every other person have access to food? Can they afford food? Can they eat food that meets their need? Because food should not be a luxury. Food is a right, and food should not be a privilege. So like my boss will say, I've been saying down there, food should not be said that because hunger is not. If food is a right, then hunger is a crime. And then to the next, if we want to make this happen, that is make this sustainable, then there are 3 things we want to consider. The first thing is that you want to see how can this be socially inclusive? Because if we say, only men should go to farm, these days we have, in terms of numbers, we have more female than we have and the men. I know then in those days, there's always a clamoring to say, from my client, to say, can we, if you don't have a guy in your family, you don't yet have a family, so the man is forced to marry more of getting, not just because of as an heir to their throne then, but because they needed hands on the farm. So they are sidelined the ladies to say, guys, all you belong to is just in the kitchen. But the times are changing. That means that if we don't have guys, that means we should not eat. No. Can we be socially inclusive? Let's have more hands on deck. That way, this process we're trying to work around is sustainable. The next thing we want to look at is it profitable for the farmer? Is it economic viable? I mean, the only thing, nobody lives what works. Everybody's looking for what will bring them money. If we can create the system in such a way that can make the farmer make money, then we can have people come into it, and that way you realize that it's sustainable. Let me give you an instance. When we were in school then, there's one song we always sing when it's like end of the year party. You see people dress in the attire that they want to be in the future. You see someone come out in like a doctor regalia or in a doctor's clothing and that they are scrub or as a nurse and all of that. And then as small as we, if you look at me up and down, you will know it is true. I am a doctor in my country. They'll be a proud saying that they want to be doctors. And then you see other people come and they are holding like a cane trying to mimic their teachers. And like, I am a teacher in my country. And you see a whole lot of, you see this guy come out with like a wig. And then they're telling you, I want to be a lawyer. You see, they're telling you there's something you subtly that, oh, this profession, we have found it not just to be noble, but because we have seen people in it who are very rich. Then you now go back and look at the books that they used to teach agriculture. You see one man wearing tattered clothes and holding a hoe here. And you see those guys say, I don't want to be like that. No, 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 no. So that is a problem. So in that mindset, if we can make it very, very economic viable, we change all of these pictures, we begin to see that more people want to come into this. And because we have people, see, nothing thrives outside people. And because people are into it, we can create something sustainable. And the last thing you want to say is it safe? Is it safe for the farmer? Is it safe for the consumer? Is it safe for the planet? I mean, nobody wants to cook his food and at the end of the day, is aiming to burn the kitchen down where he prepares the food. You don't want to grow your plants. At the end of the day, you're trying to destroy the planet. I mean, you live in the planet. So if you are growing your food and then all your activities poison, that's why I love what you are doing. Ms. Adeneke, Dr. Adeneke, sorry. I mean, kudos to the team. Very, very environment conscious. Before now, I'd gone through the website, saw things you're even doing on biogas, trying to manage waste. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Because, I mean, if at the end of the day, we destroy where we are living, then why are we producing? Why do we want to be alive? What's the purpose? And then, yes, you also want to be container with people who are going to eat all of this and all of that. So I'm trying to rush. I have like 5 more minutes more. So yes, it has to be safe for the farmer, safe for the consumer, safe for the planet. Now, in doing this, what are the tools we need to put in place? I'll give you an experience that shaped my understanding around this. So one day, I went to buy ugu. Apparently, I didn't buy from the market. I had to go to the farm to get. And then I went to see, my name is Chison. I'm like, oh, I want to buy vegetable. I want to make this. And then she just enters the farm. She packs a whole lot. And then she gives me. And then she looks at it with her eye, 500 naira. I'm like, 500 naira. Okay, no problem. And then I think after 3 months, 6 months down the line, she had left a vegetable farm. And then that was a whole lot for me. It cracked me because when she left, a few other person started leaving. And I'm like, what really is the problem? Then I went for another extension work. That was somewhere here in Nigeria, and I met this man. That's Mr. Henry. We call him a King Market, a Keystone, all of that. And then I asked him, I was like, oh, so what are the records like for your farm? And then he's like, why do I have to keep record? No. I don't know. I'm the one in charge of my farm. If someone is dead, then I can use the record to monitor the person. I'm like, no. That is why what your farm has been in the last 2 years, 3 years till now, there's not been so much of an improvement. And you see, when you go to the health sector, you see they're serious with data. You go to all of other different sectors, you see them serious with data, and they are improving. And you wonder why we are not improving the system here in agriculture. It's as simple as things like data. You go and meet the average farmer. Do you have data of how much you bought this last? Do you have when you sell at a loss. These are the issues. And then he says, no, since he's the one in charge, he doesn't record. And then I realized that he had been the same for a whole lot of time. And when you see, he does the same thing again and again. And there's no difference. The same loss he made last year is making it again this year. Because there was no record to build upon to say, oh, this was where we had got it wrong. What can we do differently? Oh, this was where we missed it. What else can we do? Now, the next thing I want to see now is technology. I mean, we have a lot of farmers in Nigeria, a lot. Even in Africa, we have a lot. In fact, as a matter of fact, presently, agriculture employs over 30%. That's a huge number. But then when you look at the output on the other side, it's as if it's not matching the people who are into it. So it's because it's not just a production problem, it's a productivity problem. Can we bring in technology to improve this production process? So for example, when you look at vertical system, that means in this case, it's more like you're saying you are building story buildings on land. So you are doing something like that for plants. They are growing containers. So what you would have achieved in maybe like 5 acres, because you have our 5 layers, you can do it in 1 acre. That is it. So, and you're doing it in less space. You see it. So, can we bring in technology to improve the situation of things for these guys? It's as simple as a seed. So, look at some of the seeds that you use. You use the seed over and over and over again. It has lost its potency. And then I remember one experience I had doing extension work. So the man had done everything and then he had issues and then he was doing, I'm not mixing up to this number of kg. And I'm like, what's the problem? I checked these books for all of those right. Then the next thing I said, okay, let me see what seeds that you're using. This guy is using seeds that has lost all its variable. So he was trying to, use fertilizer to make a bad seed look good. No, that will not work. You can't use fertilizer to make a bad seed good. And then knowledge. Oh, this again, kudos to the team who are doing a lot of this knowledge transfer. I mean, I always say this, knowledge is not just power, knowledge is protection. The first step you need to take to de-risk anything is knowledge. And yes, let's quickly go to, we'll just leave all of this strategy, just go into the last slide. Now, what are those that are involved that can make things happen? Number one, governments. Yeah, see, first is, I will say this and say this plain. In as much as government have what they can do, but you cannot always depend on government who have a tenure to create something for your life that has no tenure. So one thing in essence is we ourselves have a part to play, and I'm going to mention that. Now, for government, first you need to look at pricing. Because first, the problem is what the farmer is facing. And what the farmer is facing is a pricing problem. They don't decide how much they buy. When it comes to sell, it's even people that are buying are telling them that no, this is how much we are going to buy. So they don't have any authority. They don't have any control at both ends. That is why they are on the losing end. They want to buy. The people who are supplying are telling them this is how much you sell fertilizer. They don't have a choice, they buy. They want to sell, people that buy and say, no, this is how much we want to buy from people. And then the farmers have no choice. They're like, they are the losing end. Can we create something fair for the farmers? Can we create a base minimum price that, because when you look at across industry, you want to go and barb your hair. In that estate, they're telling you, no, we barb here for $50 and nobody barbs below that amount. You want to go and, maybe in our Nigerian sector, you want to go and set in balance, you want to go and barb your hair there. They're telling you in this region is 2,000 naira we barb at least. You see them in all of these sectors, they have this base minimum price and you see them doing well. And then you come to agriculture, you don't have that. Now, you have to know this in business, when whatever you are developing, the more control you have, the less risky it is. The less control you have, the more risky it is. And that's why farming looks risky. But I think if government can do this, it's fine. Secondly, I remember I was on an extension program to Togo, and then there's a particular community there. What the government did was that they provided light for free to that community, and they said only for farmers. Now, in the space of 2 years, if you see the development that happened just because of that policy, it was mind-blowing. I'm trying to rush up now. Now, the next thing that we can also do is can we create something that the institutions will have their way to play? Because we realize that some of the innovations that are coming up, they are of no use to the farmers. Why? It's because they are creating the innovation outside the farmers. Can we have something that matches the institution with the farmers to say, when the farmers have a problem, they take to the institutions. The institutions use it as a project with the students. That way, the solutions that we have, they can bring it back to the farmers. I'm sure with that, we're going to get a greater improvement on that part. Now, on to the people. We have our role to play. If everybody can, in a way, put their hands, have some green thumbs, put their hands in the soil, you see it, and at least grow something. That helped me when I was growing up. My mom had a small garden, such that the only thing she used to buy, she wants to cook, is either she's buying raw rice or beans or fish. Every other thing she needed, she went to the backyard to plug it and eat, or to plug it and then make. So you realize that in that way, the issue of food insecurity was not as high as it is today then. Why? Because they had these things that they were doing around. Not like there was no hunger problem, but it was reduced. But right now, nobody even cares. They're waiting for only the farmers to do it. But I think with this, if we can put our hands on deck too, no matter how little you can in your own backyard, do. I think with that, we'll reduce the pressure around. I think, yes. So you and I, hand in hand, we can create a better future. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much for the opportunity. That's the end for me.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I like what you said about if everybody can have a green thumb. I think that's a very clever way to put it. And if we're all clean our own parts, then the world will be a better place. So I will have some follow-up questions for you. Let me just look into the chat to see if we have questions for you from our audience. Okay, let me look at it. A Q&A. So do we have any questions from the audience? Before I start asking questions, there's any questions? Okay. While we wait for some questions from our participants, I'm going to, your story, Emmanuel, you talked about, you have a story about cassava eating. I think that story was powerful. Where you talk about the cassava eating community.
Yes.
And it kind of transformed the concept of food availability into nutritional adequacy. So looking ahead, what one change would you most like to see in how policymakers or institutions measured food security beyond just the question of where is their food? I know you talked about the roles policymakers make, but what one change, just one change, would you like to see in how policymakers or how institutions measure food security?
So I already said it earlier. I said I want a situation where hunger is no more a metric for defining poverty.
Yeah.
Now, yes, because if someone is poor, can we say the person is poor not just because the person does not have food? Because it means that you're making food a luxury.
Okay.
And of course, because I'm big on data, Can we have a proper see policy? Every policy without data is just a guesswork. I think I'll put it that way. That ends it. Policy without data is just a guesswork.
Yeah, policy without data is not a guesswork. And that's very profound because obviously we know that in developed societies, even like Nigeria, there's not enough available data, statistics to drive the change that we would like to see. And it's usually just the guesswork. And you also talked about food as a right and hunger is a crime. And in your view, what would it take politically, socially, and morally from that statement to become a lived reality across Africa?
Yeah, clearly is. I think network line glitched.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now clearly.
You said that food is a right and hunger is a crime. I was just saying that, in your view, what would it take politically, socially, and morally for that statement to become a lived reality across Africa?
Okay. So I know I did earlier on that for anything to work, it's not on one part, but and I think I use that to close my statement.
Mm.
So so if food is a right, that means that you should at least find a way to make food available. For example, in my house, if you offend my mom and my dad, they will never use food to punish you because to them that is criminal.
Yeah.
They won't say, "Oh, you didn't do this, I'm going to starve." To them, it's criminal. Eat. We can find other ways to address it. So even if for the government can and how you will know this is when government release their policies. Let me give you an instance. How you will know is when you look at the budget for a country, how much percentage really goes to farming or to agriculture. It tells you where their interest is. So for that to happen, can we have a budget around agriculture? And can we have like a follow-up system to make it happen? So for example, in terms of, like I said, we need to look at creating a base minimum price for this thing to thrive. Because if not, you realize that food tomorrow, the people who buy this produce can wake up tomorrow and because of what they process it and they make it available for sale. They can come up tomorrow and say, today we sell this at 1,000 naira, and who fights them? Tomorrow we sell this at 5 million naira, who fights them? But if we have a base minimum price, they know their checks and their balances. I think that will work.
Thank you. You touched on, you made a striking observation about children now aspires to become doctors. They will wear the lab coats and, lawyers with a big wig especially during career days, but not farmers. And that is, you mentioned that is largely because of how how farming is being portrayed as almost as a career of poverty. Because, when you see pictures of farmers, you see like farmers wearing tattered clothes and things like that and doing so much hard work. So it's hard for young people to say, I would like to become a farmer. You mentioned that, but what do you think? And I know that, you're doing this at Soilless Farm, but I would like you to expand on that for the audience, is that what do you think are the most effective ways to rebrand agriculture? And I mean, most effective ways, I need like practical examples in the eyes of young Africans so that it becomes a profession of pride and it becomes a profession of innovation again.
Okay, I already said it. First thing is you want to make it look attractive. You want to make it look attractive. So that's why you see, and because of the century we are in, you want to see how you can infuse a bit of technology that brings youth into it. Remove a bit of drudgery. Because then I remember his name is Mr. Demola. So when we offend, he gives us cutlass and say, go and clear grass. So for us, if you give us cutlass, we're like, are we as graduates, you are giving us punishment? Are we graduating into punishment or into work? So you see that mindset shift. So can we retool? Can we get it? So it's more like we are retooling it. And secondly, can they see that there is money in it? Nobody lives where there's money. I mean, that's it. So because of that, you should always create a bit of a program that sees people who have made it in agric come and speak with the young ones to let them know that this is possible, there is money, it is profitable. I think for short, that will do.
Thank you. So make it more attractive. You've actually answered it in your presentation. I was just looking into more, specific examples of how you can make it. I mean, of course, money, but also how you can make it attractive. You see, in terms of fashion, maybe the way farmers dress. Are there specific role models currently in Nigeria that young people finds attractive that will make the profession attractive? Of course, if you're talking about medicine, you have the Ben Cassins and you have the other, lots of doctors. And, when the way they dress and everything, it gives that sense of attractiveness. And with lawyers, they have the big wigs and stuff like that. So how can we attractive in what sense? Is it in terms of fashion? Is it in terms of
Okay, all right. So specifics.
Yeah.
Specifics. So first is undressing. Now, and we tied that with technology. So when you come to the farm now, where we are, you don't see people going around with dirty clothes. In fact, we have someone at Beloro She specifically designs farm clothes. And then when you see us work, you see us on lab coats when we are trying to sort our produce and all. So with that, you can even snap a picture. Now we have people who have now branded themselves as corporate farmers, just to try and make sure that people know that in as much as looking for white collar, in the green collar, you could also still be corporate and still have your farm. That's Akin Alabi. You can search corporate farms, and then you can search that's for those watching, my mentor, Farmer Samson Ogboli, set him up. So you realize he makes you see that beyond agriculture, you should see it as a business person. So when you present yourself, you're not presenting yourself as just a farmer, but you are presenting yourself as a business person who is using farming, who is just into farming as a business. So everybody does business. Some are maybe into accounting as a business. They are just into maybe settling matters as a business. So you call them lawyers. So you are growing crops, but it's business for you. Yeah, and then of course you see people wanting to snap pictures with their farms now, because the farm, of course, I mean, in our case, is a greenhouse, so it's something that is presentable.
Okay.
And I have other persons who are not in the greenhouse, but when you see their farms, it is organized. You know, let me tell you where the problem came from. Every time civilization comes to a place, the first victim is always the farm. So every time they want to build a house on the farm, they'll destroy it and say, yeah, everybody, inside. Now, but what if you create a farm that has a level of structure? And then when you put this structure, they cannot destroy it and send you inside. And when you see the structure, you are bold. When you go to Shanghai farm, they have almost any other thing, but you are happy to snap there too. I mean, they don't have lots of greenhouses like that, but they have other things. You're happy to snap because you've seen how organized and structured it is. And nobody's wearing rare clothes around. You are going to your swine place, you're on your boots, you're on clean clothes, and all of that. And like, wow, some might be pigs and all of that. And I think that would change the whole story. It's one of the reasons why most of us like to watch, let me say, the documentary in America, because there's something it does to them, like, oh, it's so nice, see the drone. Now you see flying farmer now, Mr. Femi Adekoya, doing great things now. So that begins to, because once the mind can be fixed, every other thing will find its place too. And that's it. I think that answered the question. Or you want more specific?
Thank you. So somebody from Emmanuel from Nigeria, your namesake, is asking that how can we educate local communities that are non-farmers on simple garden or backyard farming methods? Why there's a lot of information, why this information is available online. Some region-specific knowledge is not readily available to grow these foods properly. So how can we create or access a database that can be utilized by people who want to get involved? So just a add-on to that question is, of course, you're talking about hydroponics and greenhouses and all that. Yes, they're quite accessible, easily accessible online. But for people that don't have access to that, in terms of everyday people that would like to grow their own food without water, without soil, not without water, without soil, using hydroponics, how can we make it accessible? How can we create a database? I think that's the question from Oluwarotimi Emmanuel.
Right. I will be sincere with you. Yes, most of these resources are online, but the people who need them, like let me say, like the rural farmers that does maybe most of these things, some of them, the best they have maybe is just a radio. So the truth is, we need to put our legs on the ground. We need people like you, the wonderful works you are doing. We need people like you who can go to them. And I mean, when you hear my stories, you hear that I do a lot of extension work. You hear me say, oh, in Liberia, in Togo, in this, a lot of extension work. And that is because I understand this. Let me tell you, this is the truth, and let's listen to this. Any technology that does not get to the small older farmers does not benefit the country at large. It further widens the poverty wealth gap for the country. So the real change you need to, and when I go to these regions, what I do is I bring the technology to the level of the farmer. I mean, you can't tell someone who hasn't just 1 acre of land, this is a small order farmer, to go and build a greenhouse worth maybe about 4 million naira. You need to bring technology first, the level of the farmer, then grow with them to the points that you want. And that's what I do. So yes, so we need active extension persons to actually go to these farmers and meet with them and talk to them one-on-one in their clusters. So first, it starts with putting the farmers in clusters, then getting extension persons to speak with them. With time, we'll get it right. Yeah, that's for me.
Thank you. That's a form of evangelism in a way. Maybe call it green evangelism or agricultural evangelism. It's just sometimes we don't need that technology to do that because, like you rightly mentioned, some of the farmers don't have access to internet, and yeah, so just going to them door to door, and also maybe there can be a way to make the technology low cost because we talked about the greenhouse being so the cost of it is big, but of course, like anybody can actually do like hydroponics at their backyard with smaller models and smaller technology. So those are things that we can also be looked at.
Yes.
That's the. Let me check if we have any more questions from the audience. Somebody was just resonating with what you said. That's Priya Gusal. I said the same situation. I think with the farming not becoming an attractive career path is the same in our country. And the last question is from Kelechukwu Ibe. Said, how can someone interested in farming but no access to land go about it? Well, I guess that's where the hydroponics come, but I'll let you answer that question. So how can somebody that doesn't have access to lots of land, how can they go about it? And if they're still interested in farming?
Access to land can mean many things. It could be access to large land, it could be access to no land and all of that. So for ability's sake, so let me put a bit of clarity. In hydroponics, you don't need the land as it were, you need just a space. If you can find a space, you can grow something. Now, if you say you don't have access to land, then what you want to do is, can you get where people already have the land? Can you finance it? So I do that too, once in a while. I mean, I do that like once in a year with some persons. So what they have the land in their area, so I finance it because they have the energy, they call it like sweat equity or sweat contribution. So I need to know what angle you're coming from. This to make food available. If yes, good. So you could finance it. They have the energy, they make at the middle for profit. That's by the way. Now, but if what you're saying is there's no land, now for hydroponics, all you need is space, whether it be, and in that case, what you just need to do is we try to do this zero waste thing where we take, when you harvest your rice, you beat it out, you get what you're going to cook and all of that. The back of it, they call it the husk. It's what we use. So we just use it and then put into maybe bottles, into grow bags, and all of that. And yeah, with that, you can grow something. I hope that answers the question. Said person needs specifics.
Yeah, thank you so much. Some of the people that are joining this call are youths and our fellows. I want to, if you can please talk about the EYAI projects, the AI projects, so that they can probably learn from it and if qualified also probably apply it into the program. So I would like you to just touch on that projects from the Soilless Farm Lab.
Yeah, I'll do that quickly. So if they need more information, they could check online. www.sfarm. Or should I drop it in the chat box? Would that do? All right, so I'll drop it in the chat box. Okay. So the program is for youths between 18 to 29. And what we're trying to do generally is to retool, is to change the face of agriculture. So every 3 months, we train 1,000 youths, 700 female, 300 male, 750 to 50. We do 70% females, and just put it straightforward. Now, and we did it for 3 months. In 3 months, they learn how to build greenhouses by themselves. They learn how to grow using hydroponic system, soilless farming techniques. We teach them the business of agriculture. We give them free accommodation. We give them free stipend monthly, all in 3 months. And then we've realized the gap that when some people do training, one of the things that makes training not sustainable is that by the end of the training, everybody goes back to doing what we are doing because they had nothing to go on with. So when you're done with your program, we give you greenhouses and inputs again for free so that what you have made, you can practice and make money for yourself. That's it in a brief.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Emmanuel. Your message today reminds us that food security is more than supply, it's dignity, it's nutrition, and it's justice. And from the data in the lab to the wisdom in our communities, from youth who must see farming as innovation to policies that protect farmers, today's charge or your message is clear that we should grow knowledge, we should grow inclusion, and we should grow enough for all. So I hope that we can all leave the participants with one action to mentor. So some of you that are already in the agricultural business or farming business, to mentor a young agripreneur, to support a woman-led farm for its inclusion, to keep better data or to grow something at home. And the food is a right. Hunger has no place in our future. So thank you, Emmanuel. And you've shown us that food security is justice in practice. So I hope that the insights from your presentation today can, spur into action in the future. So thank you so much. And I hope that we can prove it with science, with community, and with courage. So thank you so much for honoring our invitation for the World Food Day Symposium. And I hope that you extend our regards to Farmer Samson Yobole and to the rest of the Soilless Farm Lab. Thank you.
Definitely, Yuri. Thank you so much for the opportunity too. I really do appreciate it. I dropped the link in the host and panelist session, and then I dropped the personal message for you, Ma.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye, everyone.
Bye.